In a kitchen in Windhoek, a tap runs into a glass. Roughly a quarter of what's in that glass was, about a day ago, sewage. Not sewage that drifted down a river for 200 kilometers and quietly lost its name along the way. Sewage that went into a pipe, into a plant, and came straight back out into the mains. Windhoek has done this since 1968. In more than 55 years, not one waterborne disease outbreak has ever been traced back to it, which raises the question this whole story is really about. How did the driest capital on Earth do the thing every other city was too frightened to try, and then get away with it for half a century? Start with the geography, because the geography is the whole problem. Windhoek sits 1,600 meters up, on a plateau in the middle of Namibia. There is no river, no lake, no coast. The nearest permanent river runs some 700 kilometers away, on the other side of a great deal of nothing. Rain gives the city around 360 millimeters a year. The sky takes back nearly 10 times that in evaporation. Windhoek loses water to the air faster than almost anywhere people have chosen to build a capital. So they tried the obvious things first. They built dams von Bar, Swakopmund, Omatako, and chained them together with pipelines. But a dam in a desert is a shallow dish left out in the sun. A punishing share of everything you store simply lifts off and leaves. You can build the wall. You cannot stop the sky. They looked north at the Okavango, 700 kilometers of pipeline, an enormous bill, and a river shared with Angola and Botswana that feeds one of the most extraordinary wetlands on the planet. Not a decision a city makes lightly. They looked west at the Atlantic. Desalination works, but the sea is 750 kilometers away and 1,600 meters below the city. You would spend a fortune in electricity pushing water uphill for a week, which left one source, the only water supply in Windhoek that grows every time the city does. The water the city has already used. By the mid-1960s, the reservoirs were failing and the city was out of options. Behind the scenes, a South African water scientist named Lucas van Vuuren had spent years arguing that reclaimed sewage could be made fit to drink and could be proven fit, not just claimed. His argument came down to one sentence. Water, he said, should not be judged by its history, but by its quality. That sounds like a slogan. It isn't. It's a dare because judging water by quality means you have to measure it constantly and publish what you find. Van Vuuren was volunteering to be checked. In 1968, Windhoek switched on the Goreangab water reclamation plant. It was the first plant anywhere in the world to send treated municipal sewage directly into a city's drinking supply. It started small, a few thousand cubic meters a day. Now, the honest part. Everywhere else on Earth that tried this, it failed, and not because the chemistry didn't work. San Diego proposed it in the 1990s, and the phrase toilet to tap killed the project stone dead. Toowoomba in Australia put it to a referendum in 2006, and about 62% of the town voted no. This is disgust, not ignorance, and it isn't stupid, it's an ancient, useful instinct about contamination, doing its job with the wrong information. So most cities engineered a compromise. They put the recycled water into an aquifer or a river first, let it sit for months, then pumped it out again. They call it an environmental buffer. It's partly a safety buffer and partly a psychological one. Windhoek couldn't afford that comfort. No river to hide the water in. No aquifer big enough at the time to park it. If the water was going to be safe, the safety had to come out of the machinery itself. So they built a plant on a principle that sounds almost paranoid. Trust no single process. Assume any one of them can fail on any given day. The water passes through roughly 10 barriers in series, and each one is designed to catch a different category of threat. Here's the chain. Before anything else, the city's domestic sewage goes through the Gamam's treatment, works conventional, thorough, and entirely separate. Only then does the water head for Goreangab. At the plant, ozone goes in first, breaking apart organic molecules and knocking out microbes. Then coagulants clump the fine suspended material together, and dissolved air flotation floats that clump upward instead of waiting for it to settle down. Then rapid sand filtration. Then a second, heavier dose of ozone, a chemical crowbar, prizing apart the stubborn compounds that survived the first round. Then 2 carbon stages back to back. biological activated carbon, where bacteria are deliberately farmed on the carbon surface to eat what the ozone just broke open. Then granular activated carbon, which acts as a sponge for whatever is left. Then ultrafiltration membranes, with pores measured in tens of nanometers. Bacteria and protozoa don't get filtered out by chemistry here. They simply cannot physically fit through the hole. Then chlorination, then stabilization to protect the pipes. And finally, the reclaimed water is blended with water from the dams before it reaches anybody's tap. But the smartest barrier isn't in the plant at all. Windhoek keeps industrial effluent out of the feedstock, entirely separate sewers, separate treatment, separate fate. Only domestic sewage from the residential catchment ever reaches Goreangab, because you can only treat reliably what you can predict, and nobody can predict what a factory pours down a drain on a Tuesday afternoon. And the measuring never stopped. In 1988, researchers compared disease rates in suburbs supplied with reclaimed water against suburbs that weren't. They found no detectable difference in diarrheal illness. In 2002, the original plant was replaced. The new Goreangab water reclamation plant now produces about 21,000 cubic meters a day, around a quarter of the city's drinking water, and over a third when the dams are struggling. It runs under continuous online monitoring turbidity, chlorine, organic carbon, watched second by second. And crucially, if a reading drifts out of range, the plant's default is to divert the water, not push it through. That design choice matters more than any single filter. The system is built to fail towards stopping, rather than fail towards supplying. Then came the real test. In 2015 and 2016, a brutal drought dropped the central Namibian dams toward empty. Windhoek was staring at day 0 years before Cape Town made the phrase famous. Reclamation was the floor under the city. It didn't depend on rain, and it scaled with the population rather than against it. But be clear about what it wasn't. It wasn't enough on its own. Windhoek also cut demand hard and leaned on managed aquifer recharge, injecting treated water underground in wet years to bank it for dry ones. And this is not fit-and-forget infrastructure. Aging sewers, algae blooms in the Goreangab Dam, and the constant cost of skilled operators are permanent, unglamorous facts of the system. It survives on competence, not on cleverness. For 55 years, Windhoek did this alone. That's changed. Big Spring, Texas, opened a direct potable reuse facility in 2013. Wichita Falls ran one in an emergency in 2014. Colorado wrote rules for it. And in December 2023, California, the world's fifth largest economy, approved regulations for direct potable reuse, legalizing, in the 2020s, what Windhoek switched on the year before Apollo 11 flew. That's the real export, not the plant, the data set. Windhoek turned an emergency nobody wanted into 55 years of evidence that everyone else can now point at. Because here is the quiet truth underneath all of it. Every city already drinks recycled water. The only difference is how many kilometers of river it traveled first, and how few questions anybody thought to ask. Windhoek just shortened the loop and started counting. Water judged by its quality, not its history. If you want the full picture, the barrier-by-barrier breakdown of the Goreangab chain, the epidemiological studies, and a map of where direct potable reuse is now legal, the link in the description takes you to it. Go and check the numbers yourself. That, after all, is the entire point.